Sharon wanted us to look at Met-Air, also listed on our local exchange. And we can see that when this share changed the 40-week moving average around February 2019 into a support, it gave a beautiful rally to the top. A little bit of a pullback in that week of the 20th of May when the share tested this strong trend line at 20 Rand. But there was clearly enough buyers to lift this share back to around 24 Rand 51. But this is a strong level of resistance that the share is facing at the moment. We can see that previously, every time the share reached these levels, it found some resistance and pulled back. And that's why, just like in the example of the gold price, this is acting as a roof at the moment for the share. And the share needs to find enough buyers to lift the share to higher levels. And although the 40-week moving average is a support at the moment, we need enough buyers to get it above that 24 Rand 51. Technically, the stochastic indicator is overbought at the moment, and we can see that the blue shorter moving average is touching my longer red moving average at the moment. So it's in a matter of maybe by Friday, when the share has decided what it wants to do, my two moving average would either be, the blue would either have found support on my red and continue to lift to higher levels, or my blue moving average would have broken down through my red moving average, which would confirm a divergence. And that would tell me that, hey, be careful, the selling pressure is on. Maybe the share price will also mirror what my stochastic is doing, and that is starting to sell off to lower levels. I think it's too late to get in. If you're happy with your profit, maybe take it. The confirmation of weakness will be when the share starts to consolidate below 23 Rand. But if this share can find enough buyers and that roof changes into a support, it can maybe really surprise to the upside. And just maybe a comment there, we've seen it so many times. When a share has found such a strong roof, that day when there is enough buyers to lift a share through that roof, it is almost like a dam wall that breaks. It just rallies to a side, up or down, on the bottom for a support or at the top for a resistance. So don't be discouraged. Just maybe patience is the key to wait and see if maybe the share cannot find enough buyers to lift it. And maybe we can just quickly look at the volume indicator and see how beautiful is that. Ever since there was a spike in volume, this share just reached for higher levels. And that is normally a good indicator for technical analysts. When a share price has a spike in volume and it starts to reach for higher levels, we can assume that the buyers were the ones that spiked this volume. Why? Because the only thing that lifts a share price is more buyers. No good news, no fundamental report. It's only when there is enough buyers, a share price reaches for higher levels. And that is a beautiful indication for Met-Air, a spike in volume, and ever since then, higher volumes. We can see there was also quite a high volume in the week of the 20th of May, but now we need to see if the share can sustain the momentum to the top despite the higher volume, and if they can take that 24 Rand 51 and change that into a support. I think this is a beautiful graph, especially that spike in volume. It looks good. Fortress B. Fortress B has got a beautiful dividend yield of around 13.8%, but we know that the share has plummeted to lower levels. We can see when that 40-week moving average changed into a support. And I know we sometimes sounds like a tape on repeat, but when that 40-week moving average changes into a resistance, investors cannot ignore it. Because we can see for the last 4 weeks, the share just continued to reach for lower levels. And now, a beautiful possible double bottom, I can't say possible, it is confirmed. The double bottom was confirmed because that level, and I'm going to show you now what it is, that level changed into a support. And that resistance that waited there was changed into a support on a Friday when that candle closed above it. And that level waited at 11 Rand 41. The share pulled back a little bit again on that strong neckline of that double bottom, found some support, and again reached for higher levels. And that is a beautiful confirmation that there was enough buyers to nibble on the share, to accumulate it despite the pullback. And that is beautiful. So what is the target of my double bottom? It's the length of the leg projected upwards from the neckline where it was confirmed. So when that double bottom plays out completely, it can take the share 12 to 12 Rand 96. And we can see that is very close to my 40-week moving average, and that is waiting at 13 Rand 23. I think this graph is starting to look optimistic and positive. I will only be concerned again about this share when that 11 Rand 41, that neckline changes into a resistance again. I think this graph is looking beautiful, and maybe we should also look at Fortress A, also a rate. And that dividend yield is 6.94%. And although their dividend yield is a lot lower than the Fortress B, they obviously, we can see, had a much longer capital growth on the share price. 40-week moving average is waiting far away from the share price, which is a little bit of a concern. My stochastic indicator, and I want to zoom that out, has beautifully broken to the downside. That is a negative divergence. That tells me that my share price can follow that action as well. And that is lower levels. So technically, if you're happy with your profits, maybe reconsider taking it. This is a spinning candle, and we know this is not a Friday close yet, but that spinning candle tells me indecision. And indecision tells me buyers and sellers are looking each other in the eye and they don't know what they want to do. It's on a brand new record high. Let me just zoom out. Yep, brand new record high. So I would maybe consider taking profit there. Otherwise, my confirmation of weakness will only be when the share starts to consolidate below 19 Rand 70 on a Friday close. Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold is listed on the New York Stock Exchange as well as on Toronto Stock Exchange. But there's also a beautiful inverse head and shoulder formation. Now we know we've seen head and shoulders on a lot of our gold local shares, but look how awesome this inverse head and shoulder formation is also on Barrick Gold, on the one listed on the New York Stock Exchange. And that neckline was confirmed. If the share consolidates and continue to consolidate by Friday's close above that $13.72, that formation is in play, and we can assume that it will start to reach for higher levels. The target of my confirmation of that whole formation, the target of it is if I take the length of the head and I project it upwards from where that neckline is confirmed, this inverse head and shoulder formation can take my share to $17.66. When will the optimism be wiped off and when will this formation become obsolete? Only when either one of these right or left shoulder, and let's take the left shoulder because this one is a lot lower than the right shoulder, when the share starts to consolidate below $11.07. Only then will Barrick Gold be a concern for me. But I think this graph looks beautiful. If the gold price changes that $1,357 into a support, I think we can see higher levels. And look, just if we zoom out and we look at Barrick Gold, this is actually a small pattern that has started to develop from February 2018 until recent. But I mean, this stock back in the day in September 2011 traded at around $55. And yeah, it is amazing to see what a stock can do over time. So if there's any gold bullish investors out there, I think Barrick Gold looks beautiful for some upside. Only if you think that $1,357 on that gold price will change into a support. There's two shares that I thought I would treat our listeners, our viewers, excuse me. We can't keep track of the viewers and listeners on a daily basis. But there's a share that I want to discuss. It's called Weyerhaeuser Company. They're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and the ticker of this share is WY. They're in the timber business, and they've got about 12.2 million acres of land under timber. But look how beautiful this graph is building on a possible higher low. Yes, it is fighting that 40-week moving average at the moment, but look at these three white soldier candles. A beautiful morning star formation with a bearish engulfing candle, a beautiful dragonfly doji candle, strong bullish candle, and ever since then the share reached for higher levels. Yes, of course, the share needs to find buyers to change this 40-week moving average into a support. But if that moving average changes into support, my next resistance is waiting there around $27.44. And it's quite difficult to find a share on the US stock market that is not close to a record high or hasn't rallied 300%. And the fact that this is also in an environmental share also caught my attention that I could not ignore. And I think this graph is looking beautiful for investors that are maybe considering the timber industry. That 40-week moving average is the key, and that resistance there around $27.41 needs to be overcome, and then maybe this graph can reach for higher levels. Again, a target that we can use for this share, we can take the conservative target of this leg and project it upwards, which can take the share to $32.31. If I want to maybe use any other strong horizontal level, I can use that. Those are as targets around $31.08 and even $34.45. But as a technical investor, I just had to share this graph with our viewers. Please feel free to visit our website if you've got any other questions. We will see you soon. Have a fantastic week. Cheers.